There are fewer than 30 men in the world qualified to drive Formula One. A mere half dozen, perhaps, to win. At this moment, I'm inclined to think you're not one of them.
No, you want to. Keep up the good work, and there you have it. There you go. With the qualifying.
Welcome to F1Weekly.com. My name is Clark Rogers. I'm the host of the program. I'll be joined by Nasir Hamid, my co-host. This is podcast number 1070, November 19th, 2024, Nasir.
Thank you, sir. I say guillotine has come down in Viry-Châtillon. Audi running rings around its Formula One program. And we look forward to the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We shall explain gladly and sinfully. Back to you, sir.
Thank you, Nasir. On today's program, Daniel Ricciardo seen at Buffaloes versus Chiefs game doing beer bongs. Max to call in sick for the team unveilings at the O2 in London. Ugo Chukwu wins at the very, very, very wet Macau Grand Prix. And this week's interviews, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Indy NXT driver Caio Collet, and he is directly from Brazil, and Nasir will have all the details on that. And yes, we do need your contributions to keep this program on the air, so just click on the Support F1 Weekly for the holidays. You know you want to. Nas, welcome to the studio. I know you're freaking out. You're getting your Vegas outfits ready, which includes Elvis Presley and, of course, the great chandelier man himself, the pianist that you love so much. Nas, welcome to the studio. How are you?
Well, we have Saturday night F1 fever on the Strip in Las Vegas. I am breezing my way to the Sin City Wednesday morning. If the flight is not taken to Cuba, I look forward to 15 minutes of chit-chat with Mr. Nico Hulkenberg in the Haas Hospitality area at 8:50 p.m. Wednesday evening. As you know, we normally don't interview drivers after sunset, but this is Vegas, baby. Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! Room service with babes and breakfast burritos available from 12 a.m. American Express will do nicely, thank you. Last year it was all about Max. His BFF, Lando, went into the wall of voodoo on the third lap. Sweet moment we had on lap 16 as car 16 passed Max to take the lead. But it turned out to be a Greenspan moment, a temporary, irrational exuberance. This year Max has won only one race since the Spanish Grand Prix, and that was the last round in Sao Paulo. The last two street races were both won by McLaren drivers, Piastri winning in Baku and Lando winning in Singapore. So, given the recent trend, I am expecting McLaren to have the edge. Maybe they will get some competition from one of the red cars and one of the silver cars. Looks like Lewis is beyond his shelf life, as per Howling of the Wolf, and now we have the usual, what I said has been taken out of context, thanks to social media. Max will always be a factor as long as he has a competitive package. I am not expecting any rain, but any late race caution, and Max is in the thick of things, and watch out for that push and shove, that pass on the outside, whatever it takes, he's there. There is talk on the street that Williams may not have any cars in the race or may only have one car. Time will tell. But if they are able to put both cars on the grid, then bright lights and all eyes will be on their new find, Franco Colapinto. What are you expecting from the race, Senor? Do you think we will see 4 Pete for Max?
Well, we're certainly going to get something exciting. Max is going to be in a great mood. He's won. He's insulted the British media. He's had his way with the FIA. They're firing people over there. We don't even know what's going on and how this whole weekend is going to turn out in terms of rulings and possible penalties. And Max is in a good mood. So it's going to be great. I expect the McLarens to definitely be there. But Max is going to try to put this championship away. That's what he needs to do. And, of course, Max's special guest this weekend is Guido Sarducci. They have a full AI DNF chapel all set up. It's exciting, and everybody's going to be hanging out there. I'm telling you, Vegas is going to rock. The hours are tough on the older folks, but I'm telling you, Nas, even when you're going to be there, you'll be so pumped up, full of those Red Bulls and the ambiance, of course, of Sin City, that you too will be up in the wee hours.
Speaking of word on the street, there is talk in town, the Vegas town, that the race may also have visitors from a federal agency called Federal Bureau of Investigations, better known as FBI. They are investigating the collusion between Christian Horner, Lawrence Stroll, Toto Wolff, and Stefano Domenicali. Apparently, it has been brought to their knowledge through the wonders of technology that there exists a WhatsApp chat group where these 4 fine gentlemen were talking about, we're not going to allow Michael Andretti into Formula One. Obviously not in this manner or in such words, but they are digging into this, and when the FBI and CIA gets involved, something happens. So we will see, and we will keep you updated gladly. Moving on, the season of surprises continue. Never a dull moment in 2024. Drivers and designers departing. Others are axed, and some are maxed. Leading the story here is Fellows making room for another fellow. Dan Fellows came to Aston Martin from Red Bull as technical director. Now he is stepping down to make room for another arrival from Red Bull next year, and that gentleman used to be his boss. And you may ask yourself, who could that be? The answer is blowing in the wind, as the hombre in question is the ace of aerodynamics, and his name is Adrian Newey. Not sure how the team will do in 2025, but I am really looking forward to the 2026 season, and when they have a Aston Martin F1 car designed by Newey and powered by a new and much improved GP2 engine. Senor Rogers, what are the chances of us hearing a radio message to Lance Stroll in 2026? Fernando Alonso is faster than you. Can you please confirm you understand this?
Well, there you go again. No, it's going to be exciting. We know that the Honda is going to have to perform because they do not want the Suzuka moment. And that will bring on the Suzuka moment if they fail. But then we have the ideal umbrella of billions of Adrian Newey. We have Fernando and Honda. This is a recipe for El campeón del mundo. So I am telling you, let's not blow this. Let's stay the course and focus. But it's going to be exciting. You're right. 2026. And we'll have Hamilton and the Ferrari in 2026 comfortable, already singing the national anthem with the team. And yes, 2026 is the season we're all really waiting for. 2025 will be old repeats of Max and Lando meeting up in the loo and having a little chit-chat. So basically, oh yes, 2026 is the big one, Nasir.
Now, sir, some sad news. Guillotine comes down in Viry-Châtillon. Le Chart was out of the bag few weeks ago, but now it is official. The Renault F1 engine program is now kaput. Alpine F1 team will now be powered by Mercedes engines, and the team will also buy gearbox from Toto and his team. Monsieur Rogers, as a lifelong fan of Renault and anything French from Sèvres Marchal headlamps to Gitan cigarettes, you should have the last word on this sad saga for French motorsports. What say you?
What we have here is collaborators. Let's face it, that's all it is. Pure and simple. It's terrible. It's shame for shame for shame. But it is what it is. It's the modern world where we just don't care anymore. So it's done. Luckily, we have YouTube and we have beautiful museums all over the earth that have a little bit of Renault power. So it's sad, but all good things must end. So it is what it is, and I think they see the ICE or the internal combustion engine as a dinosaur seeping into the ground for oil. It's sad for sure, but the sun will rise. F1 Weekly will publish.
Now we come to Audi running rings around its F1 program. This program is moving through a London fog. Hiring, firing, upheaval at the corporate level, taking over a team that has not scored a single point going into late November. There is talk of 3 factories being shut down in the fatherland. Now there are reports Sands of Arabia may be blowing millions and millions of dollars towards Audi in return for a sandbag of equity in the Formula One team. The sovereign wealth fund of Qatar, in other words, personal bank account of the ruling family in Cuckoo Land, already has a 17% stake in the parent company, VW Group. As one German F1 journalist said, cancelling the F1 project now will not save thousands of jobs that will be lost one way or the other. Even the mighty Mercedes company own only 1/3 of their, which used to be once upon a time Super Uber Formula One team. The rest is owned equally by Toto Wolff and Sir Ratcliffe, owner of sponsor Ineos Chemicals. Chemicals and motorsports have a rich history on both sides of the pond. Some of us remember ICI Chemicals on the side of Williams cars. And who can forget DuPont Chevrolet of Rainbow Warrior Jeff Gordon? Mr. Rogers, what is your assessment of the Audi situation? Do you think they will end up in the same U-boat as Alpine under Captain Bruno Fama?
It's really a tough one to judge, and I feel their pain. They didn't see this coming, but things are moving so fast in the world today that it's a daily exchange of strange coincidences. Audi sort of is in trouble, and they have to sell. Luckily, those oil-rich nations that execute people are always there. So, yes, who will become the executioner in the future, I'm not sure. But Audi will continue. But this certainly, with this kind of weight on them already, are they championship material? Did Carlos Sainz Jr. see the future? Amazing, but I don't know. I'm starting to side with him and praying that Williams kicks it up a notch next year.
Now we enter the most exciting part of the season, the revolving door at FIA. Formula One race director Niels Wittich, who is from Germany, will step down from the job he has held since February 2022 with immediate effect. And that was the FIA statement on Tuesday of last week. The official party line is that he resigned, but Herr Wittich told German journalist Christian Menard he did not resign. Wittich assumed the role of race director jointly with Senor Eduardo Freitas, who is very well known to the Le Mans people and who is from Portugal. And these two replaced Michael Massey because something happened, which I don't remember right now, in Abu Dhabi 2021. In Vegas, Wittich will be replaced by Rui Marquez. He is from Portugalistan also and has been race director in Formula 2 and Formula 3. The BEEB, that is BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation, is reporting the FIA's compliance officer, Paolo Basari, is no longer in his position, and there is no comment on this from Senor Basari or FIA. Surprise. BBC's main correspondent is a chap by the name of Andrew Benson. He is pretty reliable and very well-informed journalist, I must say. But wait, there's more. Trouble at the top. Liberty Media CEO, leaving to be a free man, Greg Maffei, who, according to Mario Andretti, told him, as long as I'm in charge, I will make sure Michael will never get into Formula One. He is now leaving Formula One and Liberty Media himself. His contract is coming to an end and he has decided not to renew. Let's see if this will help Mikey in his long-held wish to have a team in Formula One. Now, some people are putting two and two together and they think this is he's being pushed out and this will open the door automatically for Michael Andretti's team, and this is sort of like a face-saving situation from FOM and Mr. John Malone's Liberty Media. I don't buy into this till this can be proven. Looks like a natural termination of a contract, just like Chase Carey moved away. But stranger things have happened in Formula One, so we shall wait and see how this thing pans out. And now some common sense news. Contract for the Monaco Grand Prix has been extended to 2031. I am very excited. Race in Monte Carlo, which was on the schedule in 1950, like Monza and Silverstone, is not being replaced by a street race in destination cities like Maputo and Mogadishu. So kudos to whoever made this decision. Our next news item is very interesting, and again, people are having different views on this. Formula One to hold one launch. Back in the day when money was flowing freely like the Orinoco, some of the car launches were serious extravaganza, costing over millions of dollars. The trend lately has been to unveil cars on the World Wide Web. Next year, to celebrate 75th year of Formula One Championship, all teams and all drivers will appear under one roof at the same time in London. And you can imagine how many people will show up, and this will be at the O2 Arena in London, and tickets were sold within an hour. And now Formula One is warning, do not buy tickets from third party as there may be some fraudulent tickets. So we don't know. Not sure if this is a one-off deal or way of the future. Unveiling cars at the same place at the same time is a good idea. But I think in future it also should be done in places where there is interest for motorsports. And I repeat, where there is interest for motorsports, which is important, but there is no Grand Prix, and do it in different places every year, like Portugal, Prague, Helsinki, Athens, and Istanbul. It will be nice to have flyaway event like this in faraway places like New Zealand, Argentina, India, and Egypt, but then travel costs will become an issue, and also the carbon emission issue. Everybody is so PC and green. Now we come to Maple Leaf in May. According to an FIA press release received a couple of days ago, from 2026 the Canadian Grand Prix will take place in the second half of May, and the Monaco Grand Prix will take place in June. Now this is a good idea because they don't want to come to Canada from Europe and then go back to Europe and then come back to America and, waste a lot of fuel and carbon this and carbon there. So this is not a bad idea. So we will see how this thing adjusts. Now the interesting thing is, right now we are not 100% sure if the Canadian Grand Prix will take place on Memorial Day weekend, which would mean it will clash with the Indy 500, which the Monaco Grand Prix did year after year. So I don't think it will have any effect on the attendance in Montreal. Now, sir, this is called rattling the cage. Liam lays down his law on God Save the Queen. Oh dear. The subject of the colony has not even done a season of Formula One, and he is already questioning the authority and His Majesty. Speaking to a publication called Red Flags, he talked about playing the British national anthem when McLaren wins a race. He said, and I quote, "It makes no sense. It's a New Zealand team. The name is still McLaren. Red Bull play the Austrian national anthem and the team's based in the UK. McLaren is based in the UK, but it's a New Zealand team." Unquote. Well, I'm no dog hammerjole to fly into this conflict, but Red Bull is owned by Austrian, hence the Austrian national anthem. The question I have from young Mr. Liam Lawson, who I respect very much as a race car driver, how will he feel if he has a cow, with the British national anthem right now? How will he feel if they start playing national anthem of the majority shareholders of McLaren, who happen to be from Bahrain? And sir, on that interesting note, I think it's time for some mineral water from the wells of Arabia. So shall we take a break and return with Motorsports Mondial?
Good thinking, Nas, and that well water from Arabia, well, we call that black gold, so I'm going to switch to Perrier. So we'll be back after these bubbling messages.
Attention music lovers, there's a website that will take you back to the music of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Check out coolalbumoftheday.com and relive some favorites. Every day, a new album is posted for your musical pleasure. There's everything from current hits to some off-the-wall titles. You'll find artists ranging from the Sex Pistols to Tom Waits. Something for everybody. So come visit coolalbumoftheday.com. That's coolalbumoftheday.com.
Hi, I'm Guan Yuzu from China, and you are listening to F1 Weekly.
Deep below the plains of southern France, in a mysterious process begun millions of years ago, nature herself adds life to the icy waters of a single spring, Perrier. Its natural sparkle is more delicate than any made by man, and therefore more quenching, more refreshing, and the mixer par excellence, naturally sparkling from the center of the earth. Perrier.
Yes, sir. Ralf Schumacher raced in Formula One for over a decade. He made his debut in the 1997 Australian Grand Prix for Jordan. He spent the next 6 seasons at Williams, scoring 6 wins. The first in 2001 at Imola and the final at Manicure in 2003. His final 3 seasons in F1 were with Toyota. Other racing highlights of his career are winning the Macau Grand Prix in 1995, which was also won by his brother, and Formula Nippon Championship in 1996. These days, Ralph is racing in DTM with Mercedes and is also part owner of RSC UK racing team in GP3. And I would like to thank him very much for his time And I must say again that he was very nice and polite to me, which is much appreciated. Okay, folks, I'm here in Barcelona with Ralf Schumacher. Ralf, thank you for your time so much. How are you today, sir?
Well, I'm great, actually. We had a nice day so far, beautiful weather, successful qualifying, so I'm happy.
Good. Okay, how much are you enjoying racing in DTM compared to F1?
Well, it's a different kind of racing, but I have to say it's really enjoyable because it's close fighting, a lot of body contact in the car, which is nice for a change. And the racing series itself, people are more relaxed, and it's really nice to be there.
Okay. After many years in single-seaters, what was the biggest adjustment you had to make in tin tops?
Well, it's just driving the weight, the heavy weight car with less aero. Braking was a big problem, and obviously less power, so you had to drive more round again. Driving style like a Formula 3, and that I had to adapt to.
Okay. Before deciding on DTM, was there any interest in Indy cars or some other Formula 1 team?
No, not really, because IndyCar, to be honest, oval racing, I think is not good for me. I tried it in one corner of an oval and I crashed twice, so that's enough for my life. And Formula 1, when I stopped with Toyota, I just didn't want to continue in Formula 1 because there was no real good team available for me, so it was better to stop.
Okay. Talking of Indy, the track was not kind to you. As you said, you had 2 crashes. Apart from that, what was your impression of the track and also of American racing fans?
Well, I was really surprised. We were well received. A lot of fans, real nice atmosphere to race there. The city is great when it's packed with all the motorsport people. I mean, there's so much going on. I've really enjoyed the races there, I have to say.
Do you remember when you were doing this like an interview with all the fans, one fan asked you, what lap are you planning on crashing this time?
Well, I can't remember, but I managed to crash at the same spot, yeah, I know.
Okay. Very impressive win over your brother in Canada in your Williams days. What races in F1 and outside F1 are your best memories? They don't have to be necessarily wins.
Well, to be honest, I think we together so far. I mean, Michael, again now, we had a great time in Formula 1 and it was really a pleasure to run around in the world. I think there's no special memory. The best, I would say, was the first win because it took a while, but apart from that, I mean, just being in Formula 1 was great.
Okay, one win that was basically taken away from you was the rain race in Belgium in Jordan. How upset were you when you were told not to win the race?
Well, I have to say, today I understand the decision as team principal, but at the time I was really upset about the decision. Didn't talk to Eddie for I think at least a week, Eddie Jordan, who took the decision, our team boss at the time. But still it was a very successful race for us and the conditions were very difficult. I would have been a lot quicker, but obviously I wasn't allowed to.
Okay. Going back to karting days in Kirpin, did you ask for racing tips from Michael when you guys were young, or did you learn the racecraft on your own?
Well, I think we are 6.5 years, different in age, and Michael and I he tried to teach me in the early days, but the younger brothers never listened, I guess. So I did pretty much everything on my own. Obviously trying always to do it better than the bigger one in karting days, but I think that's normal between brothers.
Now, his success in Formula 1 while you were coming through the system, was that a big help in opening doors for you?
Well, to one extent, yes, it enabled me to maybe have contacts and possibilities that you normally wouldn't have. On the other hand, the focus was on me always. Expectations were very high, and people just didn't take made mistakes. It was always a big thing. So it helped, but it was a big problem sometimes too.
When you said great expectations, did that bother you?
No, not really, but it's just, the problem was they always keep watching me on every details, and as soon as I made a mistake, it was just a big problem. Whereas if you come from nowhere, no name, and you simply do a good job, everybody says you're perfect.
Now, in last several years, Kimi Räikkönen doesn't say anything with the press, so he has no problem, and you would express your opinion. You had, if I may use the word, love-hate relationship with the media. When you look back, what do you think of racing journalists?
Well, I think life could have been a lot easier for all of us, but the problem is in the sport we have so much pressure, so much is going on, and at one stage, especially as a Formula 1 driver, you start to get fed up with everything and you just want to concentrate on your job. And then they try, media a lot of times interferes with not only your job, with private stuff and so on. And the problem is not the media in general, it's just a few journalists that just don't know where the limits are. Looking back, life could have been a lot easier.
For both sides?
Yes.
Okay. You are now team owner in GP3. How involved are you in management of the team, driver coaching and selection?
Well, first of all, yes, drivers decided by the team principals only. In the young teams, or let's say in the young racing series, you look out, and you hope you find the right one, or you bet on the right horse. Basically, that's one thing. Organization point of view, we have a strong team management here. Obviously, on the race weekend, all the political stuff with the organization and so on. Yes, I'm involved, and speaking with the drivers, having sometimes look through the data when we go for strategies, what to do at what time. I think I got some experience to help. Yeah.
Okay. I won't have access to your brother, but let me ask you a question, if you don't mind me asking and sharing. Have you spoken to him, or has he said to you how he finds Formula 1 car now as compared to when he left?
Well, he said to me that he finds them easier to drive than they used to be. His car, he had some understeering which he doesn't like. Here this weekend they changed the car and it looks a lot better for him. And he's really happy to be back, he enjoys it.
Yeah, racing fans like myself, we are loving it. Yeah. Okay, thinking of team owners, was Eddie Jordan the most colorful team owner you ever had?
Yeah. I have to say, Eddie is a good friend of mine, and not a lot of people. Well, Eddie is the kind of guy that is, yes, you're right, he can shout, he's a very loud person, but he's a great guy, to work with, and you can have a lot of fun with him. And I have to say, with the possibilities he made a great job in Formula 1.
Yeah, I was talking to one of your ex-engineers, Jackie Eckelhardt, and he told me about Eddie Jordan, that the F word, F-bomb comes out programmed every few minutes. Was that your experience with him also?
Oh yes, it was my experience. He's Irish, for one thing, and for me, when I started Formula 1, my English, it's still not okay, but it's okay, it's not perfect, but my English was quite poor. So I got really used to swearing within the team, and I didn't know that, you shouldn't do that in front of the English television. And there was that story where I got asked after the race from BBC, how was your race? And I said, well, we simply fucked up. And yeah, geez, it was during the day, and they got, I think, like 3 million emails or whatever, complaining during the day. And I thought, can't be that bad because Eddie is doing it any minute. So it was, but yeah, he's a nice guy.
Okay, what is your favorite track in the world?
For me, it was always Japan, Suzuka.
You raced in Japan, right? How was the racing experience there and the cultural differences? Did you enjoy living there?
Well, at the time, I must lie, because I was quite young. I was only 18, 19, and to go there was a big step, because I went there by myself, stayed there for 14, 15 months. Luckily, I won in the first year, the championship. Looking back, it was very important for me, because there, I was just a number, more or less, and could calm down and concentrate on racing. And I have to say, Japan race drivers are so competitive, or Japanese race drivers are so competitive in Japan. It's impressive, and I learned a lot over there.
Now, you were also at one time under management by Willy Weber, and then you split. Would you mind sharing what was the reason for that?
Well, it was simply one thing that I, in a way, grew up, and I thought, I wanted to handle things by myself. Willy concentrated a lot on Michael, then he had some new drivers, and we're still more or less friends, but I thought it was time for me to move on.
Okay. Now, among the teams you have driven for, Williams is one of them. And again, I'm saying as a racing fan, I read in the press, which always is not correct. I always hear that Patrick Head is a real strong-headed knucklehead. What's your experience?
Well, to work with Patrick, it was something very special in my career. But he is a very fair person. He is strong-minded, very strongly minded. He's a tough guy, but at the same time, if he does a mistake, he comes back to you. You might shout sometimes or so, but at the same time, you can shout on him, and it's all fine. I really On the professional point of view, I enjoyed working with him, and even private. I mean, to go out and have a nice dinner with Patrick is the best you can have.
And among Formula One drivers, who are still your friends that you stay in contact with?
A little bit with David Coulthard, but actually I've never really forced any friendships to another Formula One driver. So only my brother then, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, good company. And last question is, how old is your son, David, and when can we expect DS in single-seaters?
Well, David will become 9 in October. He's doing karting. It's called Bambini. It's the smallest series. He just started racing. We'll see. I mean, I hope he does something proper, but at the moment he enjoys motorsport. As long as he does, I support it.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Ralf Schumacher, thanks for joining F1Weekly.com.
Hi, I'm Nick Heidfeld, and you're listening to F1 Weekly.
Welcome back to F1Weekly.com. Clark Rogers here, your host. And now, as we spin the globe and go around the world with Motorsports Mondial and the king, the Swami himself, Nasir Hamid.
Thank you, sir. I say greetings and racing regards. Let's start with our feature interview of the day. Today we have Senor Caio Collet from Sao Paulo. This is our second conversation with him. I have been following his career since his karting days when he came under the wings of Nicola Todd's all-road management. We met up at Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama during a recent test session. My thanks to Caio for his time and hope F1 Weekly familiar members enjoy this motor racing talk. Okay, folks, I'm here at Barber Motorsports Park with our second conversation with Mr. Caio Collet. Caio, good to see you again. How are you today?
Really good. Good to see you again. Always nice to speak with you. And so far I think the day has been pretty good in the morning. So hopefully we can wrap it up the year again in the afternoon with another good session.
We had a brief meeting at the Miami Grand Prix. How did you like the Miami Grand Prix?
That was super nice. I think always, Formula One is quite a show. So it's really nice to watch a bit from the sidelines, and I think it's a bit of a different environment. So always enjoy watching racing.
I understand you're headed to the Brazilian Grand Prix. Who's going to win at Interlagos?
I hope Oscar. I think he's the guy that I'm rooting for maybe this year in Formula One. I think he's been a good friend for the last couple of years, and I'm really happy to see him performing well.
Okay, this season was your first season racing in the US. What has been the biggest surprises here compared to racing in Europe? Not just tracks, racing, but fans and everything. Hot dogs and cheeseburgers.
No, I think the atmosphere is really different. I think people here in the US, I think it's more pure racing. So I think you are much closer to the cars, to the teams, to the track. I think, for example, if you compare both of the environments in Formula 1, F2, F3, it's quite hard for you to be close to the team and watch how they work. And when you go to an IndyCar race, man, you can sometimes even interrupt what the mechanics are doing because you are so close to the car watching. So it's really fantastic to have this, and I think to really watch from 2 feet what everyone is doing. And I think this approach and this atmosphere is super nice. You can access everyone very easily comparing to Europe. So I think this is really nice, something that I really enjoyed this year. Also, I think the weekends are a little bit different, how you approach and how you manage. And obviously, ovals. I think this is something that was new for me and I really enjoyed. So looking forward to go back next year.
You know, in Formula 4, I need to get permission from management teams to talk to 15-year-old kids, so it's really ridiculous now. You finished third in the championship, and you won Rookie of the Year. Did that meet or exceed your preseason expectations?
I think we knew for sure it would be difficult, especially I think this year Louis, he put on a spectacular year together with Andretti. I think they were maybe a step ahead the whole year, and I think obviously they did a really, really good job. And we knew that he was going to be hard to beat, and I think I was quite happy that mid-season in the oval and street circuits we were putting the pressure, sometimes in front, sometimes like just close behind. And obviously when we arrived at the ovals was a different story, but I was quite happy with my performance, how we approach the road and street courses, and for sure the oval was a learning curve, and hopefully next year we will be ready.
You started and finished 7th in the season opener in St. Petersburg. What was your assessment of depth of competition in Indy NXT compared to Formula 3 in Europe?
I think it's quite difficult to compare both. I mean, I think here in the US I was in a, not that in Europe I was not, but I think here I was in a championship winning car, something that my past few years in F3 I would not call it the same. I mean, the same situation that I was here in the US. So for sure, every track that I went, I had a winning car, and I think this motivates you quite a lot and is a little bit different. But yeah, St. Pete, to be honest, was a little bit disappointing. I made a lot of mistakes in qualifying and in the race. So I think coming back next year, I'm looking forward because it's a phenomenal track.
Just so you know, I live in Tampa, which is not far from there, and there is a very, very nice Brazilian restaurant in Tampa. Have you been there in international business area?
No, I've not been to Tampa, just St. Pete.
Okay, cool. Okay, second race of the season was here at Barber Motorsports Park. You qualified 4th and finished 4th and set the fastest lap. That must have given you a lot of confidence for the rest of the season?
Yeah, for sure. I think it was good to maybe do a solid weekend. I think St. Pete, as I said, especially myself, I did a lot of mistakes. And then to have a solid weekend in Barber, I think even was good to settle down and start to building up the season. So it was a really important round.
Now this Barber Motorsports, I love this track, beautiful facility. Which European track does the layout of this track remind you of? And which track in Brazil is closest to this one? And you have good tracks in Brazil too.
Yeah, we do. I've been only to Interlagos in Brazil, so I'm a bit partial to that. But I think it reminds me a little bit of Budapest here. The high-speed sections, it's like corner-dependent one from another, so it reminds me a bit of Budapest, high-speed, so it's quite nice. I really like Budapest, and I really love Barber as well.
Have you seen the motorcycle museum here at the Barber Motorsports?
Not yet, because always like in the race weekend, to be honest, I had time, but I didn't go, and in the testing, we always arrive one day before and leave straight away, so something that I need to do when I come back here next week.
I would highly recommend when you have time. Okay, the Indy Grand Prix was a double-header. You were on the front row for both races and got your first podium in the second race. Tell us what happened in race 1 where you finished 19th.
I had a crash with Louis, so we both had a contact fighting for P2, I believe. And I ended up with a lot of damage, so I just kept going because here I think the point system is quite weird. Like, even if you finish P19 or 18, you still score points. So that's why we kept going with damage. But yeah, I think the contact was a bit unfortunate. And then in the second race was quite a good race. We led, I think, 80% of the laps. But in the end, we just fell short a bit of pace and couldn't keep up. But it was a solid weekend again, and was quite happy to fight really at the front.
Laguna Seca was also a double-header, and you were on the podium in both races. How much fun is corkscrew section going down?
It's amazing. It's really one of, I think, the best tracks that we go in the year. I really love Laguna Seca, but I think the weekend, especially that weekend, Louis was a step ahead of myself, and I think both of us, we were a step ahead of the field, but it was just quite hard to catch him. I think it was one of that weekends that he did a phenomenal job together with Andretti, so we just need to try and replicate that sometimes next year.
Okay. Your first and only victory of the season came in style from pole position and fastest lap at Mid-Ohio. Tell us about that weekend.
Yeah, it was, I think, one of the weekends that you remember for maybe the rest of your life. It's something that every session went perfect as we planned, so I was really happy. We went fastest in both sessions, fastest in qualifying with a track record, and then winning the race with the fastest lap was, incredible job from the team. I think they gave me a perfect car from lap 1 on free practice, and we could just build up step by step and finish off the weekend in a good way.
Many Brazilian drivers who have done very well in IndyCar racing. Do you seek or have you sought help from any of them to learn oval tracks and other things in American racing?
I think for sure we talk a little bit with Helio, Tony. I think they are huge reference for myself and also for motorsport here in the US. So for sure, I think when I try to get advice, I think they're the first two that I go for. But to be honest, I think the team, they have a phenomenal crew of engineers and people here that they can help me all the time.
Okay. Podium in the season finale on the National Oval must have been very satisfying for you.
Yeah, really satisfying because I think the ovals before that were pretty shocking. in terms of not really performance, but how we finished. So I think, 2 crashes, and then after, obviously, Milwaukee, pace-wise, we were really far, and then to finish off the season in a podium, I think gives a lot of confidence when we come back there, not only there, but also for the other ovals. So it was something that was really important, I think, not only for me, but also for the team.
Winning the championship in 2025 has to be your goal. Who do you see as your main challengers?
I mean, I think we'll be for sure tough. We have a lot of work to do. I think Andretti, they have a pretty strong lineup next year, so I think that will be for sure tough to beat. Also Able, I mean, everyone will be tough. I don't see maybe someone that stands out. I think we are pretty much everyone at the same level as competition, and I think there's 5 or 6 drivers that can win the championship next year, so it will be a nice fight.
Final question is my favorite question for kids going, shooting for IndyCar career. When you get there, what is more important to you, winning the IndyCar championship or the race at the Brickyard for 500 miles?
I think it's a tough question. If I could choose one, I think I would probably choose the 500 miles.
I'll tell you the difference between the two. You win the 500, you get invited to White House. If you win the championship, you may not even get a free breakfast at Waffle House.
Yeah, I mean, I chose right then.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much. No problem. Okay.
Caio, thanks for joining F1Weekly.com. Back to you, Nas.
Okay, sir. Now we look at some motorsports events. MotoGP. Final race of the 2024 season took place in Barcelona at the Circuit of Catalonia, and this was supposed to take place in Valencia, but because of flooding, the race was cancelled there, and event took place in Barcelona. The season really belonged to Italian Francesco Bagnaia. He won the race on Sunday for a total of 11 wins from 20 races, so that's winning more than half the races. But the championship belongs to Spanish rider Jorge Martin. He won 3 races in 2024, and his third place finish on Sunday gave him his championship at the top level of racing on 2 wheels. Marc Marquez was second in the race, and I have to say, Francesco Bagnaia, also known as Paco, was very gracious and kind. He put out a statement on his social media congratulating Jorge Martin on his success. This is the first championship on 2 wheels in the top echelon of motorcycle racing for the Spanish riders. So that was very nice, especially from a guy who won 11 races. So I think that's very nice of Paco. In the final standing, this is how it looked like. Jorge Martin, world champion, 508 points. And next year he is moving to Aprilia. And this is also the first time that a rider with the private entry has won. I think last person was Rossi, maybe like many years ago, or maybe a couple of decades ago. In the championship, Bagnaia finished second, 498 points. And Marc Marquez, who I consider to be 5 years ago I thought he was Lewis Hamilton on 2 wheels, but now we have a regime change on 4 wheels, so he is still, in my opinion, he is Max Verstappen of 2 wheels. And Marquez finished third with 392 points. And now, sir, to one of the most prestigious events in junior racing, and one of my favorite races, just like the Po Grand Prix. The Macau Grand Prix took place over the weekend. As always, it's in November, and a tremendous successful day for an American racer. This year, the Formula 3 cars were replaced by Formula Regional cars, which is 1 step below Formula 3 and 1 step above Formula 4. Basically what used to be Formula Renault. They do a qualifying race on Saturday, and Sunday is the feature race. Now, previous winners included Ayrton Senna da Silva and Michael Schumacher. This year, the qualifying race was won by Ugo Chukwu from New York City. He is also a McLaren Junior. Very impressive performance, and I watched this race on YouTube, and of course still available. Because he started from pole position, but there were cautions and red flags, and he kept his cool, and the race finished behind the BMW pace car. He really had the car dialed in. He looked very good, the car looked very good, and he was just on his own. And if you've seen the track, I mean, one mistake and you're done. So I say congrats and kudos to Ugo. His papito is from Italy and Mamita is from Nigeria. She's a model and a very nice beautiful looking lady. And Ugo is very tall. He is the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar of motor racing. And I interviewed him last year, and this kid really is very, very tall. Now, there was more to come. Even more impressive performance from Ugo in Sunday's feature race. Too many cautions, and through all the mayhem, Ugo kept his cool and the lead, becoming the first American, and in fact, only the second American to win this prestigious event. And the last time it was won was in 1981 by a driver by the name of Bob Earl. And if I remember correctly, if my memory cells are still working, or if hopefully some of them are, Bob Earl used to drive a Pontiac Fiero in IMSA GTO competition in the late 80s, early 90s. Oh, now we come to the most important thing powering Formula One and many things. Money. It's a gas. Prancing horse to enjoy Scottish whiskey. And I say, oh dear. Ferrari has announced a sponsorship deal with Scottish whiskey brand Chivas Regal. Scottish whiskey blended with spaghetti culture. What can possibly go wrong for number 8 for Lewis Hamilton? But when life gives you lemon, you make lemonade, so I have an idea. We can get Michael Massey as MC for this party. Thank you very much. Chivas Regal is owned by Pernod Ricard. The Ricard part is from Monsieur Paul Ricard. We know him and love him for creating a mighty fine motor racing track at Les Castellets in the south of France with the long Mistral Straight. And I was there, Mr. Rogers, a few months ago. That area of France is very, very beautiful. It's just like Santa Barbara, California, or some small town in California. And I am itching to go back there again. And hopefully next year I will attend a race there, Formula Junior or whatever. Now we come to JB in a caddy. The British racing team Jota will race a Cadillac in the World Endurance Championship, and in 2025 one of their drivers will be their homeboy, now residing in, just mentioned, Santa Barbara, California, Mr. Jenson Button, the 2009 Formula One World Champion. Looks like Jenson has the racing juices flowing again for a full-time ride. I think Mr. Penske should put him in some high-profile IndyCar road races. JB at Long Beach Grand Prix. People in LA will hear a giant sucking sound from the port city. Speaking of Mr. Penske, he and his Penske Entertainment are now the proud owners of the Long Beach Grand Prix. This was big news in American motorsports, sir. There were some concerns that this race may be bought out by NASCAR people and turn into a boogity freak show. And Mr. Gerald Forsythe, who used to own the IndyCar team, Players IndyCar team, he used to own 50% of Long Beach Grand Prix with his partner, Mr. Kevin Calhoun, who used to be head of IndyCar Racing at one time, co-owner, and he is originally from Australia. And we interviewed Kevin some years ago, very nice guy and very friendly gentleman. And since then he has passed away. And his 50% shares in Long Beach Grand Prix was put up for sale by his estate. And Mr. Forsythe was never a fan of NASCAR or IRL, which was Indy Racing League, if people remember that. So he bought the whole thing at one time, and now it's been bought out by Mr. Penske and his Penske Entertainment. And I must say, Mr. Gerald Forsythe, I don't think he ever sent a Christmas card to Tony George. So now the whole kit and caboodle, is owned by Penske Racing, or Penske Entertainment, I should say. And the idea of the Long Beach Grand Prix came from an English travel agent based in SoCal, Mr. Chris Polk. The first race in Long Beach was for Formula 5000 cars and was won by Brian Redman in 1975. The first Formula One Grand Prix took place in 1976, and it was a Ferrari 1-2 led by Clay Regazzoni over his teammate from Austria, Mr. Niki Lauda. And very important event the following year in 1977, Long Beach Grand Prix. Mario Andretti became the first and remains to this day only American driver to ever win his hometown Grand Prix. So very impressive there. And I remember, if you recall, some years ago we did an interview with Mario Andretti through the wonders of Skype. And that same year, 77, he had also won what they call at that time his spiritual home race, Italian Grand Prix at Monza. So I asked him, which one meant more for him, Monza or Long Beach? And he said, both were important, but if I have to choose one, it would be Parco Monza. And who can blame him for that? Okay, sir. This is very sad news. Some people have no shame. About 2 weeks ago, a bronze statue of Gilles Villeneuve, which is a life-size homage to the man who became a Canadian hero, this was in front of his museum in a town called Berthierville or something like that near Montreal. And our webmaster, Toby Dawes, and I went and saw the museum and this statue. Some people cut the statue at the ankles and took it away to melt it and do whatever they want to do with this. And of course, the Villeneuve family is in shock and disbelief. And Jacques Villeneuve, the son of Gilles Villeneuve, has come out and requested them to return. So this is very, very pathetic, but still nothing close to some people, I don't even want to use some bad words here, who were trying to steal the body of Dino Ferrari, and then something happened and they took off without taking the body. So very sad, but such people exist in our world. Okay, sir, now we come to amazing but true. When Lance goes on a stroll on the strip and unleashes his Pedro de la Rosa given talent in the Las Vegas Grand Prix, he will set a new track record. With 164 Formula One starts, he will become the most experienced Canadian Grand Prix driver, surpassing Formula One world champion, Monsieur Jacques Villeneuve, also known as JV. Number 4 on the Casey Kasem Canadian Billboard is equally talented Nicholas Latifi with 61 Grand Prix starts. Remember him, people? Latifi's everlasting contribution in Formula One was causing a late race caution in Abu Dhabi 2021. Need I say more? Yes, I do need to say more, and that is, with that, we come to Musical Mondial, and since we are all really looking forward to the second Grand Prix on the Vegas Strip, I think it's time to invite Mr. Vegas himself, Wayne Newton, into the palatial studios. So I say Danke schön. Till next time. Ta-ta.
Good night.